This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search from my site. I'm with Adam Strom. Say hola, Adam.
Hola, Adam. Hola, everybody.
I am New York City subterranean. I'm in probably the coolest place I can imagine to do a Google Hangout in the New York City subway. I'm at a bottleneck of pedestrian traffic, and I'm safely out of the flow with a pillar that is covered with ceramico, which has been beat by the high traffic of pedestrians and other things. So anyways, there should be quite a bit of pedestrian traffic making my visual sort of entertaining. Adam, give us an update. Where are you?
I am at my mother's home in beautiful Tempe, Arizona.
All right, Adam, we can safely, our first Google Chats, we talked about this hypothetical, theoretical audience that we have. And so I would say things like, if we're fortunate enough to get viewers, we are getting viewers. The repetitive, regimented, disciplined practice that you and I have established to do this weekly is working. If you craft a search on YouTube properly, you get our videos, 3 of them. One of them is one with Robert, by the way, and only 2 are you and I. 3 of them.
After today, 3.
3 of them are in the first page. So anyways, we can speak of like our listeners as if we have them, because I now know we do. It's not a theoretical, hypothetical anymore. It is happening. So the other thing, I know you and I talked before that it's the national holiday, and we don't want to be idiots and talk about.
Yes, Happy Independence Day.
Feliz Dia de Independencia. So Adam, I think you know, I will prompt you more if I need to, but you remember when we had you and I staffed the cart in the shopping mall at Christmas time?
I remember it well. It was at Queens Center Mall.
Okay, the time, place, and occasion to talk about debt and solicit clients was sort of not ideal, and that sort of relates to talking about debt on the Independence Day. Would you agree?
Well, between you and me, and I'm not going to say a lot about it, but talking about debt on Independence Day is as natural as it comes. I mean, that's what we do. We give people back their independence.
Oh, very well. Say more, Adam. That's not what I expected, however good.
Well, when you're carrying around minimum payments of $600 a month to credit cards, and that $600 would be better used on your kids, your wife, your life, your car. It feels very, very much like you've been freed when you don't have to spend it to the banks.
So someone, of course, is not going to take a step to become a client on Independence Day, but the idea that they use this day use the language of this day and then take steps in the weeks to come or days to come, in the business days to come, that in your thinking, that's a time, place, and occasion that is somehow agreeable, fluid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Strange noises you hear as I am currently straightening a few things up.
All right, Adam.
I am visiting.
So anyways, I think what you just said and what I'm about to say is all I want to say about debt, and then let's just talk a little bit about the national holiday. So what you said, tying this independence with financial freedom and independence is absolutely relevant. I know how our clients have experienced sort of a weight lifting off their shoulders. I mean, it really does happen. It's not theoretical.
Oh, no, all of our completed clients are incredibly thankful.
Yeah. So taking this idea into the other thing I want to mention about debt. Adam, Robert uses the word cheesy. I asked him to look at, or at least talk about, these videos that solicit people for their client relationship, and they often have sad people in debt and then happy people out of debt. You know these videos that I'm describing, am I right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so they have quasi-professional actors and actresses. They're scripted. They're sometimes done very professionally. They sort of remind me of a low-quality soap opera of my childhood or a
Well, yes, and they
novella
usually
of.
don't tell you the truth either, but that's beside the point.
All right, so those cheesy videos is where I want to pick up next week or 2 weeks. As you know, I'm leaving the country for vacation. So, Adam, if we could pick up there, what I want to do is imagine that the people whose attention we are getting are also giving their attention to those cheesy videos. So, where I want to pick up next week, and I kind of want to alert any listeners that we might get this week to say, listen, what we're going to tell you is that we know that our credit card debt talk appears on the same page with these cheesy videos. So, if you're watching those and now you're listening to us, here's how the gap in what they're telling you. This is where the rubber hits the road. This is where that cheesy video matches and does not match with reality. This is Adam. You, of course, you can talk on this subject. Do you think it's relevant?
It's more than relevant because what good meal can't use a little cheesy topping?
Okay, all right. So my take is that when you have sad people in debt, you have happy people in debt. You know, this is self-evident. You don't need to tell people in debt that they're burdened, and you don't need to tell them that they're going to be unburdened when they get rid of their debt. You do need to hold their hand and coax them through and help them understand some of the details of debt, and that's what I think you're in a perfect position to do.
Yeah, it's very simple. What people don't understand, what people are brought up believing is you pay your bills on time, doesn't matter what they are, and everything's going to be okay. And we have, 723,000 bankruptcies filed this year, and we're only halfway through the year.
What do you mean we?
America.
Uh-huh.
It's Independence Day. The we is all of us.
Yeah.
The country has over 730,000 bankruptcies filed this year so far, and it's only July 4th. We're only halfway through the year. So apparently, all of those people were paying their bills on time like good little boys and girls, and everything was not okay. If you're carrying debt that is more than 10% of your income in payments every month, you really need to speak to someone who knows about finance and financial counseling. End of story.
Right. And why don't they?
They're afraid to. They're afraid that everybody they talk to is a scam. They're afraid that they're going to get ripped off. They're afraid. They're just afraid. They're afraid the banks are going to take things away from them. They're afraid their family and friends will shun them. It's all about fear. Now, whether those fears are reasonable or not is another question. I'd say 99% of them are unreasonable fears because they don't understand how it works. The system in America is set up for the banks to win every time and for the consumer to fail every time. Occasionally a consumer wins, and that's called beating the system.
Now, Adam, but some people have the same assumption about our court and legal system, and that is not true. The court allows people to win and be forgiven for their financial missteps and move on.
As long as you know how the system works, you can work with the system. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, most Americans, and when I say most, I'm talking 9 out of 10, do not know how the system works. They think they have a basic knowledge, but all they have is hearsay. All they have is what they've heard from other people who also don't know how the system works.
Right, but Adam, if they listen to us talking, what they hear from us is also hearsay. Why are we any different?
Well, let's see. I work with 74 attorneys nationwide at this point. I am well versed in law. I did go to law school a long time ago. I did not continue and become a lawyer, but I did spend a year plus in law school, and I've learned a little bit about this, and I've been through it myself. I was a client before I ever started working for the industry.
Say more, Adam.
It gives me a unique perspective. I was in debt for over $14,000 that I could not afford to keep paying on, and I sought help, and I got that help, and I am pretty much at this point debt-free. I have the usual debts that everybody else has: rent, electric bill, cable bill. Once a year, I pay the IRS. But I
Right.
don't have banks chasing me anymore, and I do still have credit cards. But now I know how to work them so that I'm never indebted. Tom?
Yep.
Okay, I thought I lost you.
So,
That
Adam,
gives me a
Adam,
unique
forgive me,
perspective.
but I say, how you know, you say scam and hearsay, but I say we're hearsay, and then you just spout off this typical resume shit that everyone else spouts off. We work with the top attorneys in the country. Da, da,
I
da,
didn't
da, da.
say top attorneys.
All right, but why would anyone listen to you?
Well, here, let me eliminate the negatives I spoke of, not in a cheesy advertising way. We charge our clients $0 until we produce what we say we're going to produce. So in other words, you pay nothing unless we do exactly what we said we're going to do. That's number one. Number two, we give you a map that shows exactly what we're going to do. There's no doubts as to what will happen and approximately when it will happen.
Approximately. I'm glad you said approximately. Speak more,
Well,
give more detail to approximately.
okay, if anyone says, we know that we'll settle your debt by X date, they're lying to you because that's not possible. You cannot possibly predict when a debt will settle. It is a negotiation. Sometimes it goes on for 2 days, sometimes for 2 months.
Right.
So if
And
someone says,
Adam,
oh,
Adam,
we'll have
Adam,
all your
Adam,
debt
Adam,
settled
Adam,
in 6
Adam,
months, you know you're being scammed.
and strategically, you often, I think you put it in your own words, but you often wait for the banks, the creditors, to make the first step.
Well, of course, because that tells us they're ready to negotiate.
So anyone that promises when is stupid because when is strategically smart to be left in the hands of the other party.
Correct. The
Yeah.
when is left up to the creditor. When they're ready to start talking, we're ready to talk with them.
Now, Adam, there's an exception, though. You had trouble in the early years of this business settling with a particular creditor, and I think that was Discover. And now you've come to understand that you make the first move before they write it off and give it to a law firm. So that's a little bit different because you are
Yes.
initiating.
Yes. Discover being a different kind of credit card company requires a different type of handling, and it took us a while to learn that they don't fit into the normal mold.
Okay,
However,
so the
Discover
normal
is
what you
also
were
not
Adam, hang on. So what you were speaking of moments ago is this model that you let the creditors, the banks take the first step. You let them initiate timing, except Discover. Are there any other exceptions?
Capital One.
And that's a different model altogether, or that's just
No,
like
that's the same
Discover?
model as Discover. There are only 2 models. There's the Discover model and the basic model.
Okay, describe both of them.
Okay, under the basic model, hold on just a second. Under the basic model,
Is that your toaster?
no, worse than that, my mother's cell phone.
Oh.
All right, anyway, under the basic model, you go delinquent, we wait for a letter to come from the creditor offering to resolve the account. We then call and offer much less than what they're asking for, and we come to an agreement somewhere in the middle most of the time.
All right, so explain how you got to this. Why is Discover and Capital One different than the other, all the other creditors that behave more in a unified fashion?
Well, here's why. Discover and Capital One have 2 different reasons. So let me start with Discover. Discover is not a brick and mortar bank. You don't walk into a Discover branch for anything because there are no Discover branches to walk into. They make their they make all of their money off of their credit card and loan business. So when somebody defaults on a Discover card, it tends to go to court much quicker because they are immediately losing. Whereas ATM fees and other banking fees regulate Bank of America, Citibank, Chase, and all the other brick and mortar banks.
Okay.
Capital One, although they are a brick and mortar bank, they were built as a credit card company originally, and they happened to start opening some branches, but they don't have enough yet to compensate them. So they do exactly what Discover does. They rush to the courts to remedy any default.
So in this let's talk about Capital One and Discover, and then all the other creditors and banks that have a more predictable, unified pattern. Are more from the larger crowd of creditors and banks becoming like Discover and Capital One, or do you predict it will stay
Not
the
at
way
all.
it is?
Just the opposite, actually. Chase now takes at least a year before they even consider writing the letter saying they're willing to negotiate.
Okay. So the idea that more creditors are behaving like Discover and Capital One, that is not going to happen in your prediction.
No, no, no. I don't think that will happen. Like I said just now, I actually think it's going the other way.
Right. So should I, if I were a consumer, I was in debt and I had Discover or Capital One and then some others, should I think this is good?
Well, it depends. Again, if you don't know how the system works, and I mean in every detail, if you try to do it yourself, I always say, God bless, I hope you succeed. But I don't know of any success stories of people that said, we'll do it ourselves.
Okay, Adam, it's practical. It is possible that someone has $20,000 of debt, and it is all with Discover and or Capital One. But in practical terms, the number of people whose creditor list would look like that is zero. Am I correct?
Practically zero. Yeah, we do have one or two clients out of 1,000 that are like that.
Okay, so
below 1%.
Let's put those people off the table and talk about the majority of them. Majority of them either have zero with Discover and Capital One, or one or two, a reasonable amount of portion of their debt, say 10, 20% with those creditors, and the rest sits with someone that's more, it handles like the rest of the creditors. Should that person worry?
Well,
Adam, let me put it in different terms. If they're listening to us, they may say, oh, shit. If I put together what those two people are saying, and it's mostly you and not mostly me, but if I interpret what Adam Strawn's saying, I look at my own debt and I say, oh, my God, I have Capital One and Discover. I'm in trouble.
You're only in trouble if your balance is more than you can pay off in 3 payments. If you can afford to pay off your balance in 3 payments, then you're not in trouble.
Well, the whole reason they're a client is they can't pay the balance in 3 payments.
I understand, but for those who are looking on who actually are able to pay, but we get a lot of clients in-house who are just looking for a way to save money. It's not that they can't afford to pay. They just don't want to have to pay the whole thing back, and they don't care about their credit. For those clients, they need to look at it, because that's how we look at it when we analyze a client. Can this client afford to repay the debt they have in 3 payments or not? If not, they're in financial hardship and they don't even know it.
Wait, Adam, do the math for 3 payments. You're talking about cutting it in half first and then putting it all to that. Like, give an example. So,
all right, I have a Chase card, okay, and I owe $1,500 on it.
Okay.
Could I pay them $500 a month for 3 months without breaking the bank and be done? If the answer is no, I'm in financial hardship and I don't even know it.
Oh, but financial hardship, that puts you in the category of a client that can use your services.
Exactly my point. So in other words, let's say that $1,500 is going to take me 12 months to pay off. In those 12 months, that debt will increase by 30% because of interest and finance charges from the bank. So I'm actually in financial hardship. I am losing mine and my family's money for 12 months for no reason, because I've let my balance get out of control.
Okay. Okay. So, and that 3-month test, that is looking at each creditor one by one, or that is trying to stay current on all by testing it? I don't understand.
That is for all. That is for all. So in other words, when we get someone who carries a debt load of $46,000, because I had a client sign up yesterday for that amount.
Adam, with multiple accounts, like the typical 5 or 7 or 12, whatever.
Yeah, 9 accounts to be exact. But
All
anyway,
right.
They have $46,000 in debt spread over 6 different banks and 9 accounts.
Okay.
Now, to run up that kind of debt, you must have a decent income, because the banks won't extend credit to homeless people or people without jobs.
Yeah.
So you have an income. Now, the question is, and you have savings, no doubt, as well. If with your savings and income, if you could split that $46,000 into 3 payments and pay everything off, you're not in financial hardship. if you can. You
Okay,
are.
okay. I understand. So your clients are the people who can't pay their full balance in 3 payments.
Correct.
All right, Adam, let's set that test aside. I just want to comment about these people. How much debt do they have?
The newest client has $46,000 worth of debt
All
in
right,
total.
their household income is, they got to be over 100,000.
Household income is about $92,000 a year.
Okay, so you on a personal level, if I were talking in a bar with this person, I would say is your primary client a him or a her, man or a woman?
The primary client is the male.
The male.
He is
So
married.
I would be talking to him in a bar, and I would say, let's say that person had just he had just begun going delinquent. You've been current, you got great credit until recently. You're sort of feeling like the creditors, your banks that loved you for a long time, that they now hate you. And that person would, of course, say, yeah, I feel like that, right?
Usually that's the case, yes.
Okay, so then I would say to this person, listen, if you get this credit problem fixed, you trust someone like Adam or someone with his skills, someone in his industry who's competent, not a scam. You treat you trust the services of a professional. You get this behind you. That hatred that your creditors seem to treat you with, this contempt that they seem to treat you with. You were the prized friend, and now you seem like the poor cousin. That relationship will flip once again, and they will love you because you have household income. You are the kind of people that they want your money. They want to give you credit. This is true or not true?
This is true.
And if you were in the bar talking to that person, how would you say what I just said?
Well, I don't know if I'd say it much differently, to be honest with you. But the fact of the matter is that banks only love people who are making them money.
Right. So Adam, let me springboard from what you said. Banks only love people who are making the money. Okay, you're starting to hemorrhage. You're a problem. This is a little overly personal to say the bank behaves this way, but in the grand picture, they do. All right, we'll forgive some debt. Yeah, we'll settle with you. Give us a professional to deal with. We can handle this in a professional manner. We might have some lawyers. We might have some professional debt people. Yeah, they'll work the mess out, and then we love you again.
Pretty much. I have clients who complete their program, and 2 months later, they're getting offers in the mail from every bank that they just settled with.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Because Adam, they do. I know that this is true, but my examples. Adam, I know this is true, but my examples aren't fresh. A very old example I have is about a decade ago when I was a Bank of America client in good standing. And I called one of our clients on behalf of his or her. It's not too long. I don't remember if it was a man or a woman. But that client's debt was with Bank of America. So the greeting prompted me for the credit card number. And I put in the card number and I got transferred to a person. And that person immediately treated me with contempt. And here when I put in my own card number, they treated me. So in other words, by typing in my client's card number, they treated me with contempt. By typing in my own credit card number, they treated me. They did a little bit of ass kissing, a very tiny bit of ass kissing. They certainly treated me with respect. Now, when our clients are faced with that, they literally flip from their own account, creating that personality change in their creditors. They take it very personally. I know you have fresh examples of how the clients describe that to you. To give an account of that.
I have hundreds of examples of that. When we get a client, we provide them a switchboard phone number, a local phone number from their hometown, to change their phone number with the creditors so that the creditors don't harass them. We want the creditors to call us instead on our switchboard. Most clients report when they call up and try to change their phone number, the creditor refuses to accept a new phone number because they know they can reach them on the old number to keep harassing them.
Right. So what happened?
Whereas when they used to call, when they made their payment every month, even though the balance never went down, they'd be like, oh, what can we do for you? How about we give you a credit line increase? Would you like a personal loan?
I missed something.
It
what?
Like they want to feed you this huge meal for free.
Right. So are you saying the creditors want to keep you, the professional, out of it? Is that what they're doing?
Oh, creditors always want to keep professionals out of it because we know how the system works. Consumers do not. They think they do not. The system works like this. Bank extends credit knowing they're going to make a lot of money. If they're not making a lot of money, they try to find ways to shut that credit down.
Right.
That's the real system. If you take out a card and you pay it every month on time, the bank pretends to like you. They give you more credit and keep extending it till they see you fall into the hole that they're digging for you. That's just a fact. If they give you a credit line of $1,000 to start with, and you pay every month on time, and you're a great little client, they will send you a letter. We've upped your credit line to $1,500. We've upped your credit line to $2,000. They will keep upping it until they get you to the point where you can make the mistake of falling in the pit that allows them to collect nothing but interest off of every payment you make.
Right. So this is here's a shovel, dig your own grave.
Bingo. Like I said, if you don't understand how this works, if you believe what you were taught as a kid, or you believe what they teach you in school, when it comes to banking, you're in a lot of trouble. You will not make it through the age of 40 without being in debt. I mean, consider this for a moment. Today is America's birthday. And America has a humongous debt, $16 trillion. If we gathered up every dollar in existence and paid it to the Federal Reserve, we would not pay off that debt. It's impossible. America will always be in debt because the Federal Reserve loaned us the money to get started. The amount they loaned us was less than the amount due back. We can't possibly have enough money to pay off the debt. It's never going to happen. Are you there? I apparently have lost Mr. Duty to a camera freeze, which is quite unfortunate. Hopefully he'll be back in a moment or two. But it is a pitfall, and people really need to understand that they cannot continue to pay $150 to a credit